What's up YouTube, this is Amisbro. How we doing today? So we are going to be talking about a game which I had finished playing yesterday, and it is called Life is Strange Season 1. There is going to be a Season 2, and of course there is also Before the Storm, which is already out. Now Life is Strange is about, at least the main story, is about Max Caufield, who goes to a school called Blackwell for I believe it's a high school, Blackwell High School. Someone will correct me, it's either a high school or a university. Anyway, she goes there and she takes photography under a teacher named Mr. Jefferson. This is actually an important plot point because of the stuff that happens later. Stuff which I will not spoil in the game. So, she goes and she apparently, during class, has a major daydream. But the daydream was of an event that potentially could happen in the future. The question is, what events would take place before that, and how would the choices and events that she was a part of affect things? Well, we would get to find that out very early because of something that she sees happen in Blackwell when a young man named Nathan Prescott shoots and kills her friend Chloe Price. After seeing this, she wants to save the girl, but how to do it? Well, she discovers that she has an ability to manipulate time and to cause different and to change the outcome of things. This is something that becomes very important throughout the course of the game's 5 episodes. And as you use this ability, it is used not just for situations, but it's also used to add topics to conversations, which are also essential in some cases to getting trophies, or collectibles rather, in the game, which are attached to trophies. Each chapter has about 10 optional photos, because Max is a photographer, and after you get each one of those, there's a trophy for excuse me for a second, drew a blank. There's a trophy for getting all the optionals, and there's a trophy for completing chapters. So there's about 12 per, which is actually pretty cool when you think about it. The game, as far as getting the Platinum Trophy, is relatively easy. I say relatively because there are times when even when you're using a trophy guide or a walkthrough, some of the directions you're sitting there going, okay, what do I need to do here? And the game does have an ability to drag a little bit. Because you see, when we play, if you play like a standard Otome, say a visual novel, it goes like this: scene, 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 choice maybe, scene, scene, choice maybe. But the choices you make affect the ending of a particular route. This game, when you make the choices sometimes, the outcome isn't immediate, which can or can't be a good thing depending on your outcome, or it will be a immediate thing and you'll affect the way people treat you later in the game. Now, one thing that can be infuriating is, because Max can rewind time, you can do one or both of the choices in a given situation. Now, if you choose to do certain ones, certain characters may be angry with you and they won't forget that you did that. Of course, you can also stick up for it. Of course, you may also do the right thing for them, but it affects the outcome later with another character. So you're sitting there going, so what would I rather do? It also doesn't help, though, that Max's monologue, or inner monologue, when it changes, it makes you rethink whether or not you want to make that choice. You could spend 20 minutes doing that. Like I said, this is unlike when you play a visual novel, and the choice you made in the game, how do I say it, affects the way the story is going to go from that point forward. However, because there's no time manipulation in most visual novels, once you make that choice, unless you say before that particular choice, that choice is locked in. You can't do anything else. And sometimes that can be a good thing, because that means you have to be committed to the choice, to your consequences. You know, the consequences your choices make should be, I think, steadfast. And I do think, to some degree, that the idea of having, in respects, really no real right or wrong choice at times, can make things a bit dodgy. Now, yes, there are, in some cases, wrong choices, and they do affect the game permanently. But that's when you get to like a major plot point. When you get to some plot points, it's like, why did we make this a choice again? Now, some are also unspoken. Some of the plot points, or some of the things that you can do in the game, you don't even know were choices until you get to the end of a chapter, and then the game decides, oh, here's a list of everything you either chose to do or didn't do. And you're sitting there going through and reading it like, huh, that's interesting. Because comparing what you did versus your friends did, or the world, can actually be a pretty interesting thing. I actually went, after I completed every chapter, and literally did a breakdown of what I did versus the world after almost every chapter. I don't think I did it for chapter 5, though. Now, the idea of the relationship between Chloe and Max becomes a very interesting one when you think about the tone of it between them. Then again, you sort of get the idea of what kind of story what kind of narrative they were pushing when you find out about Chloe Price's relationship with Rachel Amber, one of the other major plot points in the game. Because there's Rachel Amber, she's one of them. Then you have a storm brewing, and you don't know what its root cause was. And there's a lot of different interwoven things that happen in this game. So trying to figure out why things are going on and how to either prevent them or whatever makes for a very, very interesting game. Like I said, it's almost like playing a standard Japanese otome game. The difference here is that you can go back and fix the choices that you made to suit a better outcome for you if there's a different one you want to see go through. One thing that I wasn't a big fan of in this game, and it ties into sort of the final chapter, there were times when the game, I thought, dragged. Sometimes the game will ask you to pick up certain items. Now, okay, the items in effect were going to be used to either do an investigation or for something, which, fine. Heck, there was even a scavenger hunt in a junkyard for bottles. At the same time, though, you know, some of these things, like the picking up of the bottles, in my personal opinion, wasn't really necessary. Like, it pads the game out too much, as opposed to playing, like I said, the Otome game, where you're just going boom, 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 boom. And of course, every choice you make has a different branch to it. And that's like the really, really, really cool thing. Is that when it, and by the way, because I know I'm going to get crap for this. I know I'm comparing a Japanese visual novel to a Western interactive movie game, basically. I'm doing this, though, not because I'm trying to say one is better than the other, but I'm doing this because sometimes the frustration that you can feel playing Life is Strange when you're trying to make certain things happen, it shouldn't really be there. There was a level of frustration that you would go, okay, let's try this again. And then you fail it. Okay, let's try this again. Then you fail it again. After about 5 times of failing it, you just want to throw your hands up and go, you know what? This is ridiculous. And trust me, I felt that a couple times. Of course, there was at least one time when I thought I was supposed to use time manipulation for one thing, and then it turns out, no, you really weren't. Alright, that's fine. That being said, however, is the game actually a good game? Of course. It's also just going to be dependent on your tolerance level with things that may or may not frustrate you. For example, the fact that sometimes I don't want to call them nonsensical, because they do sometimes turn into a major story point, but sometimes some of these points will be padding out the game, and you're just sitting there going, really? And then, of course, you have the 5th chapter. In chapter 5, there was a part that I thought was pretty infuriating. The game makes you go through a nightmare scenario. And in the nightmare scenario, and by the way, yes, I know, I thought I was wrapping up the review, but I wanted to get this out there. You're going through a nightmare scenario that involves stealth elements. Now, there was at least one other stealth element earlier in the game. Okay, fine, but that made sense because of what you were doing. For those who don't know, you were breaking into the school at that time. In this part of the game that I'm referring to, you were just basically going through a nightmare scenario that involved dodging clones of different characters. So you're playing it and you're going, okay, why is this a thing again? And it also becomes a bit frustrating when it plays a 3-strike rule. Now, you can be caught 3 times. On the 3rd time when you're caught, you get sent back to the beginning of the checkpoint. Okay, at least they don't send you all the way back. But the idea that they had to put this type of part in before you got to the final choice in the game kind of makes you scratch your head and just go, why is this a thing? At least it did with me. Because you're trying to get to the end game. You pretty much know whatever outcome you're going to do in your head. but you have to get through this long, drawn-out port. And it's literally just like when you had to do, say, the bottle collecting in the junkyard in an earlier chapter. You're not quite sure why you have to do it, but at least when you did that in the junkyard, it kind of made sense. Here it's kind of like, okay, why am I... Because that's the thing you had to do. Well, in truth, you didn't have to. It's something for an optional photo. But at least the game does give you one thing. Whenever you rewind time, or in the case of this particular part of the game with a junkyard, every item you picked up stayed picked up. It doesn't go back. So you can collect all 6, get caught, make a beeline for make a very careful beeline for the bottles, take the picture, and then sit on the bench and go through the final choice of the game. And I will not tell you what that choice is. That is up for you to find out and your choice to make. I knew mine, but what's yours going to be? Now, let's get to the actual verdict. Like I said, this game is very good, and everybody should check it out. At least Season 1. Actually, do this. Get the game and play through Episode 1. If you like what the game is giving you, buy Episode 2, 3, 4, and 5, because you're going to get more of the same, and it's going to be very emotionally intensive, especially towards the very end. To be perfectly honest, I was damn near crying at the end of Chapter 4. The one thing, like I said, you have to know is that there are parts that will drag out a little bit. Not too bad, but enough. And because of that, it may wear on your patience a little bit. Just a little. Some aren't like so bad, but some will make you want to rip your hair out. And trust me, the one in the junkyard, well actually the 2 that end up with a junkyard and bottles, dear God, those were hair pulling. But they eventually make sense, and when you actually get to do them, they can be a lot of fun. So, that is that. Now, you may recall, do I have it sitting here? No. But you may recall that I said that after I did Before the Storm, after I did Season 1, and I'm leaving that in, after I did Season 1 of Life is Strange, I would do a visual novel for the Vita that I have been putting off for a while. Well, I have good news for you. It's officially been started. Ladies and gentlemen, the next game for review will be Oz Mafia Vives for the PlayStation Vita, and I have it, and I've got news for you already. I'm a little ways through the very beginning of the game, because good lord is it gonna be a long one, but I'm enjoying the ever-loving hell out of it. A lot more than I thought I was going. Well, a lot more than I think people thought I would. But I'll talk about that with you in the next review. In one of the next reviews, because I do have one more coming up. So, until then, my friends, I hope you do well, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.